Well, hello there to my Aries. This is Queen Moon Ra coming to you with your general reading. Ooh wee. Okay, Aries. All right. We talking love. I see somebody getting married. So congratulations first and foremost, especially after coming out of relationships where you may have felt like, okay, you weren't nurtured right in the relationship, right? Somebody had a first impression of you in the past relationship. Excuse me. And it could have been somebody who was moody or overly sensitive or even clingy. Maybe you felt like they were clingy, moody, or overly sensitive as in your love life, or you could have felt like they were jealous or secretive or obsessive, or you could have felt like they were an escapist, overly idealistic or vague, right? And so somebody could have had a first impression of you just in general. But I do see you as being structured and authoritative, and I see you as being someone who is courageous and a pioneer of sorts. And you made a lot of sacrifices, right? Your ancestors made a lot of sacrifices as well, right? And so you could have felt like you really emptied yourselves out, like in terms of just being transparent, being open and honest. You literally could have felt like, okay, you hung yourself upside down. And just doing the best that you could in just terms of talking. Like you could have felt like you just kind of sort of just shared everything about yourself, and something may not have been good enough, right, in love, right? And so, but I do see you doing a complete and total purging. You may have already purged. You could have abstained from sex. You could have you could have just decided, I'm breaking ties with certain people, places, and things. I'm gonna get myself together because I feel like I want to get married and I need some time to just really do a spiritual cleanse, a purge, right? Good idea. I do see somebody getting real structured and authoritative in all of this. This is really a transference of wealth in areas of love for you all, because somebody could have been around toxic feminine energy and toxic masculine energy. You could have been in the middle of, you could have been raised by a karmic couple, right? People feel like, hey, we together, so I guess we're going to stay together and make it work. No matter how toxic it is, no matter how many generational curses we hand out to the kids, hey, let's just do it, right? And so a lot of sacrifices, you made a whole lot of sacrifices to break a generational cycle, chain, and curse. So kudos and congratulations to whoever you are. I love this. I love it, because it does take that. It takes all of that. It takes to say, hey, you're not necessarily trashing your parents or grandparents or anybody in your family, but you're saying, I want to get it right. I really want to get it right. And so transparency is needed when you're trying to get it right. You are ruled first house. First house is all about self and personality. And so the first house actually opens the show. It describes our earliest circumstances and how we were received into life. Your planets here, the signs they occupy, and the sign on the cusp of the first house set the tone for your approach to all new beginnings and to the world in general. So appearances matter. I don't think I know any Aries. I don't think I've ever met an Aries that came out the house looking a mess. Now, we ain't talking about the other signs, right? But we talking about you, Aries. I don't think I've ever met, I don't think I've ever met an Aries that came out the house looking like a mess. I'm just going through my mental Rolodex right now. I don't remember. Maybe there is an Aries out here that's just come out the house looking any old kind of way. I just personally don't remember knowing or meeting any Aries that just gonna come out the house looking. Even if y'all going for a jog, y'all got the sparkles on y'all jogging suit. Like something's different. Something is a little pizzazz, a little extra bling, something going on with an Aries, because that's just how you all are wired, right? Which a lot of people actually look up to that. A lot of people just like, oh, they got to do all of that just to come out of the house. Y'all may be thinking in your mind, hey, you never know who you're going to run into. This first impression is everything, right? First impressions can be lasting impressions. If that's how you're wired, that's actually you're inspiring more people than you realize. And so physical body can mean a lot for you, just like it just kind of, keeping yourself fit and trim, or whatever you look like. your sense of identity, just kind of sort of knowing who you are. It can come across as prideful to some people, like you just knowing like where you came from and that kind of thing. And so your person coming along, I see you getting married to somebody who is a very nurturing spirit, who actually takes pride in knowing that you take pride in yourself, right? This is what I'm seeing coming across your path, right? So in order to purge, you're going to have to completely release everything where people wanted to pray for you and your marriage under the guise of prayer. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Like people who want to know every little thing that's going on in your marriage in order for them to pray. Why do people need to know every little thing that's going on in your marriage in order for them to pray for you? They don't. They can stand in agreement with your prayer. They can intercede on your behalf. I wish the best without crossing any boundaries, right? So I see somebody getting married and you're having a total recall now of thinking like, okay, if you were married or wanted to get married, how people overstep their boundaries and told you that person is not going to nurture you. They're not the right person for you. I got a feeling about this. I just know this. I know who you are. Basically like they're giving unwarranted advice on your relationship. And something could just be overwhelming now. Like just like in terms of your gifts of just believing like, you know what? I'm having dreams. My dreams are just overwhelming. I feel nurtured. I feel like it's almost like doubling back and realizing I know exactly where I feel most nurtured, and I know where I don't feel nurtured, right? Everybody has somebody that you came across where you don't forget that feeling of feeling nurtured by somebody. Like somebody, even if a person seemed clingy, or if a person seemed like they were really looking out for you, or if a person was just like, they just hit all points for you. Like they just like, y'all know, like a person that you just feel like, okay, that's my person. We balance each other out. They really a homebody. You could be a person who likes to go out. They could be like a person who really likes to stay home. They could really, really just be a homebody for real. But that doesn't mean that they homely. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like they ain't coming out the house. Like they coming off of, coming, whatever, y'all. Anyway, they not coming out the house looking homely, right? They coming out the house. When they come out the house, they got their stuff together. But they're okay with you going out the house looking like, you just going to the grocery store or to the bodega, or you going to the corner store, wherever. But you looking nice. You got a little extra pizzazz or whatever you got going on. And they are proud of you to be the way that you are, right? So I do see you getting married. Again, people had a first impression of you, just like you may have a first impression of them. You made a lot of sacrifices in your life. They made a lot of sacrifices in their life. We're talking about ancestors. You got ancestors. They got ancestors. And when people start talking about like where they came from, when they know what feels safe for them and what doesn't feel safe, that's where in initial conversation, when you sit down with your person, that's the questions. Those are the questions when you're trying to find out what makes a person feel safe, what doesn't make a person feel safe. A person tells you, hey, they are a prayer warrior and they're interceding on your behalf, but other people on the outside, and you like, okay, everybody don't need to be on the inside of what's going on behind closed doors. These friends, these so-and-so, they ask you questions about, so what's going on in your marriage? What's going on in this? None of your business. None yen. Why? Why? If you're going to pray because you want to. Like, if you're going to send out good energy, right? So I do see that. So it's a rebirth for you. And you're learning how to feel fulfilled without telling everybody all your business. Without telling people all your business. So congratulations in advance. I do see somebody getting married. The person who was a handler for you in the past is in your first house. Pull your birth chart. This is a general reading, so take only what resonates with you. If it doesn't, it just doesn't, okay? Y'all know by now with my readings, I take it all the way down to the lowest of frequency. I call it take it all the way down to hell. Long before the artist, I saw her in an interview. She's so funny to me. She cracks me up. Long before the artist Cardi B said, take it down to hell where the lava is at. I've been saying that for years. Take it down to hell. So anyway, so Source is saying to you, listen, when I'm taking it all the way down to where it could trigger some people, but I always bring it back up. Bring it back up to a higher frequency to let you know, hey, look, I'm going to shine a light down here. Because if you're still breathing, guess what? You still have a book in you. You still have you still have love in you for your person. You still could be, you can purge whatever people thought wrote you off, right? You could have been married 10 times. I saw an Instagram post the other day with Joan Rivers and Zsa Zsa Gabor. I think it was one of those shows like Squares, like I forgot the name of the show, but she was teasing Zsa Zsa Gabor about being married a certain number of times, and Zsa Zsa Gabor laughed in a very rich laugh, basically like, you don't know the half of the people, you know, whatever. In other words, there was no shame for her. She was just like, she just believes in love. So some people are ashamed of who they allowed in their circle because that came back to bite them later, right? And so I feel like there is another Aries, a dark Aries, somebody who was impulsive, aggressive, and also impatient with you, who is receiving their karma right now when it comes to love, when it comes to marriage. Because now they wanted to learn something like, how did you become so patient? Like, how are you so courageous? How are you so energetic and so pioneering? I'm talking to a high vibrating Aries. A low vibrating Aries was impulsive, aggressive, and also impatient, but that's how they do everything. Whoever low vibration, and they're getting their karma in all ways, in their love life, their money, their fortune, blowing a fortune, their love life, everything is just going kaput. They just overwhelmed in every way, shape, form, or fashion. Something with the military could have something to do with it. It could be government, right? Something is overwhelming them in every area of their lives, right? Because they were not operating in their own skin, meaning that they were not appreciative of the gifts and talents that they inherited for themselves. They so busy thinking that, okay, they didn't inherit any gifts and talent. Everybody inherited gifts and talents, but the gift and talent that they inherited, just like and this is not Bible study. I was not called to do that. I'm not teaching you Bible study, but just like the story of the guy who got, you know, people got 10 talents or however many talents they had. One of those people just buried their talent. They just buried their talent instead, because they're like, okay, I don't want this talent. They just buried it. So nothing grew there. Everybody else using their multiple talents, their gifts and talents. So you could be a person that sings, plays an instrument, does this, that, and the other, but somebody's like, I don't want that talent. But they have a talent, right? They're a prayer warrior. And so when they pray, stuff comes to them. They just haven't learned how to, they just have not learned how to be the gatekeeper of what they want to keep out of their lives, right? So they're constantly having tower moments. Whoever the low vibrating Aries is, they're constantly having tower moments of this awakening, like, I'm getting what I prayed for, I just don't know how to keep it, right? So the key to this that you're teaching people are really to be grateful for the sacrifices that ancestors made in order for them to be a prayer warrior, for them to be born on the day that they were born, right? And so that's what's going to help somebody's marriage. There is a low vibrating Aries that really needs a high vibrating Aries to teach them about patience in marriage. They actually really, really need you to teach them that, right? And so to help them to see what makes them feel nurtured. But whoever this energy is, they're so impulsive and so aggressive and so impatient. It's like, okay, well, and they're the ones that's actually clingy. They're the ones like, when I leave out the house, I want somebody else to leave out the house. Because that is what they were contaminated with in the past. Somebody who was jealous, someone who was secretive, and someone who was obsessive. That's what they had, somebody who judged them by how much they went out the house, who they was hanging around. They judged them by every little thing that they did, and they didn't even realize they had to purge all of that in order to see, okay, who actually made them feel really nurtured. I mean, some people may want somebody to be married to them where they just, every time they leave out the house, their person leave out the house with them. But some people really, really are homebodies. Some people really like staying in the house. They make the house their home. They really enjoy their kickback. They're not calling somebody every 5 minutes, where you at, who you with, all of this other stuff. They really trust, hey, listen, because when you know how karma works, if somebody outside doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, ring-a-ling-a-ling, you're gonna get a phone call. They wasn't now you got to come pick them up from somewhere because they were somewhere they weren't supposed to be. They lied and said they were supposed to be somewhere, but they were somewhere else. And guess who only go call? You. Because the way that source will set it up is that every single person they could call is unavailable, but guess who is available? The one they didn't want to know, you, right? So somebody is now realizing that somebody, in other words, there's another Aries that's in your circle. Aries, high vibrating Aries, is a low vibrating Aries that's getting their karma right now because they've been wearing someone else's skin. They've been wanting to say, okay, I want to stay in a